All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good today. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I had to go grab my coffee, but we're here. Fix my screen. S&P, Nasdaq, Dow, all up pretty significantly today. Fix my screen. S&P, Nasdaq, Dow. Yeah. Fix this here. Where's gold at? Gold's down a little bit today, I think. You know, it's important too because like we got the this week we have a whole bunch of catalysts. We have CPI inflation data dropping tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We've got the deadline to the 90-day tariff pause for China coming out tomorrow too. We're in UNH. Remember, UNH is up. All right, let's talk about it though. Here, sorry. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Let me get my disclaimer up here. I was editing a video. That's what I was doing. All right, that's pretty good. What's up, Steve? Disciplined OG, America, Pawn, Billy, Trey, Simple, My Music, Femi, Joseph, Ray, Soul, R. Yeah, so, okay. Let's talk about it. Okay. August 12th is incredibly important, which is tomorrow. 90-day tariff truce agreed in early May paused the most punitive U.S. tariffs. They were reduced to 30% and China's to 10%, down from previously exceeding 100%. And so tomorrow is incredibly important. If the truce expires without an extension or deal, tariffs could revert to triple-digit levels, causing problems and supply chains, weighing on sectors like tech. Now, they did speak when they were in Stockholm, Sweden. It didn't really yield any firm extension, but discussions are still ongoing, and a possible but not confirmed 90-day extension depends on the president's approval. Lutnick signaled optimism, stating it's likely the deadline will be extended by 90 days. And so I'm pretty sure that's probably what's going to happen, is a 90-day extension again. And then, and again, the other big stuff to talk about this week is the CPI inflation data. You know, markets are up today. We had some news this morning regarding tech. Nvidia and AMD, if you take a look at like microchip stocks, Nvidia and AMD unveiled an agreement to pay a 15% cut from AI chip sales to China, to the United States government in exchange for export licenses. So essentially they have all these chips they want to export to China, the powerful chips from both Nvidia and AMD. And now they're going to have to pay a 15% royalty, essentially. That's what I'm showing. To the U.S. government in exchange for export licenses, and it triggered sharp drops. You can see Nvidia dipped down pretty fast this morning. Like, look at this big drop at Nvidia. It was all the way up at like 180 something. Yeah, 183s, which I think is pretty close to all-time highs. 185s is all-time highs. It was up there. But then that news about the 15% to the U.S. government to export, for export licenses, it caused a pretty sharp decline down. Nvidia's down over 1%, or it was, and AMD's down over 2%. If you take a look at AMD on the bottom here, they're both down. They started dropping early this morning. In better news, Bitcoin is trading close to all-time highs this morning. So Bitcoin around all-time highs. It's at 121s now. Look at this move for Bitcoin over the last few days. Bitcoin is up big. Shares of Coinbase, MicroStrategy, Robinhood all up, buoyed by the surge in Bitcoin trading near all-time highs. As the new executive action, which eases retirement investments into crypto, happened. AMC pumped up a little bit this morning too, man. AMC meme stock up a little bit. See, it went to 340s. Didn't really hold, but it's at 311s now. It's good for AMC. Again, markets are going to be sensitive to the China deadline news, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get an extension. You never know. But what 10 a.m. thing? Are you talking about Tom Barkin speaking? No, I think that's actually tomorrow. With the White House? Is it really? Okay, that's just too much. Can't listen to that song. Let's do a poll here this morning, guys. About will tomorrow's CPI inflation data show up higher or lower than the 2.8% expected year over year? Vote on the poll. Yeah, look at United Health. I'm in UNH. I'm actually pretty green again this morning in all the stuff I've invested in. We're going to be day trading again this morning too. Yeah, the weekend was good, man. We had a good weekend. Just try to wake up, you know. Yeah, Bitcoin doing great. Good for it, man. Where's Dogecoin at right now? Doge is at 23 cents. Eli Lilly. Yeah, didn't they have the weight loss bad news for them? They're at 629.50s. They're still down though. I mean, is it time to buy Eli Lilly? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. Cannabis stocks. Yeah, ETH is up too with Bitcoin. ETH is kind of following the same trajectory as Bitcoin. Yeah, cannabis stocks are up. Why? Oh yeah, isn't the president supposed to reschedule it or something? Yeah, so the president is supposed to reclassify cannabis. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Cannabis stocks are up. Microchip stocks are down. Crypto stocks are up. And yeah. Yeah, the deadline is the big thing, though. I think we're going to get a 90-day extension. I really do. I don't think we're going to allow 100% plus tariffs. I just don't think so. I think I think he's going to keep extending it personally until they get a deal done. I don't think he's going to allow the 100% tariffs to take effect. I just don't. What do you guys think? You guys think we get a deal done with China before tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, it's states. I mean, I'm for it. Again, I'm pro cannabis legalization. I really am. Like, cannabis is an objectively less harmful drug than alcohol. Objectively, right? Like, anybody that's looking at it honestly is gonna recognize this fact. I'm not, I don't think, I'm not really an advocate for people using it, especially young people. But I think people are going to consume it regardless of its legalization status, and you might as well legalize it and tax it. Just because people are going to consume it regardless. So you can either, and so like if you have children, and because I understand, like if you have kids, once they hit teenage years, you never know what's going to happen. And I hope they don't, but you never know what's going to happen. And I'd rather it be legalized, regulated, than not knowing what is out there. You know what I mean? It's just, it makes more sense to legalize it, regulate it, and tax it. And the biggest lobbyists against it are pharmaceutical industries that usually want you to use their harsher drug. They want you to use their stuff, which are massive physical dependence, withdrawals, all kind of stuff that you get from those pharmaceutical companies. And that's why they don't want you to use cannabis, because cannabis can be a little bit less toxic for you, Why are you asking us when you are the man who guesses right all the time, especially rate cuts? Honestly, as much as I'd like to brag about being right about rate cuts, it's pretty freaking easy to be right about rate cuts. Anybody that's wrong about rate cuts doesn't understand it. No offense to you. I'm not saying, like, if we got 3% odds, I'm taking those bets all day. If we have 97% odds, I'm taking those bets all day. It's not something in which anybody should ever really get it wrong for rate cuts. There's been a couple meetings over the last few years where like the odds of a rate cut are like 60-40 or something like that. Those are ones where it's understandable to get it wrong. But if it's 97-3, don't be dumb. Like, you might want something, it doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Confirmation bias is a powerful thing, No deal, y'all. Yeah, I don't think we get a deal. I don't think we're gonna have a miraculous deal that props up before tomorrow. What I do think is that we are gonna get an extension. I think we're gonna get a 90-day extension, and I think it might help markets. We'll see though. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna get an extension. I don't think he's gonna let it expire without an extension. I just don't think so personally. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. All right, so DuPont and Quiddity announced issuance of 1 billion notes due 2033 and 1.5 billion notes due 2032. Reuters poll, so 10-year treasury yields to rise to 4.3% in 3 months in a year and 4.4% and 4.3% respectively in the July poll. So a little bit of a decreased expectation for yields, which is lower interest rate sentiment is what that means. If we take a look at yields this morning, yields are under 4.3%. They are currently at about 4.27%, but you can also see that we've seen a little bit of a decrease this morning. Here's the open for yields. We opened up at a 4.285. We're at 4.271 right now. So we have seen a little bit of a decrease in yields this morning, although if you look at a 5-day trend, we have seen an uptick, but the reality of it is yields are down, and they've been down since last week, give or take. The big labor report on the 30th or on the first. Was it the first? Yeah, the big labor report on the first massively brought yields down, and they're probably going to stay there. If you take a look at rate cut odds this morning, rate cut odds are at 86.5%. So we still got pretty significant chance of a cut next month in September. The only way we're not going to cut next month in September is if tomorrow's CPI inflation data heats up. And just to take a look at this data tomorrow. So we got CPI inflation data tomorrow. One of the things you'll notice, and again, it's very probable that we're going to cut rates next month if we get lower inflation data tomorrow. But one of the things you notice here is that if you take a look at this, we actually have a little bit of an uptick in expectations here. So last time year over year inflation data came in at 2.7. Tomorrow they're expecting 2.8, a little bit of an uptick. Core CPI month over month last time showed up at 0.2. Tomorrow they're expecting 0.3, a little bit of an uptick. Core CPI year over year last time showed up at 2.9%. Tomorrow they're expecting 3.1%, a little bit larger of an uptick. The only one that's not expected to uptick is the base headline CPI inflation, which is actually expected to decrease about 0.1% to 0.2% when it came in at 0.3% last time. So that's actually expected to go down, but all the rest of them are coming in a little bit higher than expected tomorrow, or expected to come in a little bit higher than expected, I should say. And again, the biggest news this morning is affecting microchips. Microchips, Nvidia. Here's Nvidia on the bottom. Here's AMD. AMD at 169.90. Nvidia at 181s. Now we've had a little bit of a surge back up though for some of these. Like we dipped and then we kind of came back some here. But again, news on Nvidia and AMD paying 15% of Chinese sales to the US government has changed it. Tariffs are no longer going to be just country specific. They'll be company specific as well now, which is a big change in things. August 7th, president said Intel CEO must resign immediately. And then today, Intel CEO is actually expected to meet with the president at the White House, which could result in another deal. Apple is investing $600 billion in the U.S. in attempts to avoid tariffs. Nvidia, AMD paying 15% of their sales in China, and Intel meeting with the president. So the president's actually meeting with multiple different companies right now to try to get deals done. Who's next? We'll see. In terms of earnings this morning, I don't think we have any big ones, huh? Earnings season's almost done. Okay, we got like Monday.com, we got Barrick, a couple other ones. Yeah, we got CPI inflation data tomorrow. Beard suits you? Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, I guess. Yeah. It's the 12th. The China tariff deadline is the 12th. Eye of Husky. Which is tomorrow on Tuesday. Same day as AI. Or same day as CPI. Defense stocks, wait until Friday, maybe. Circle, earnings tomorrow, CoreWeave tomorrow, BBAI today. Yeah, the NASDAQ and S&P have been pushing up this morning. They dipped a little bit with the NVIDIA microchip news, but then they rebounded back up. Everything kind of came back up now. Yeah. Yeah, Stefan Miran is going to go to the Fed seat being vacated by Adriana Kugler. Current chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors to serve in the just vacated seat of the Federal Reserve until January next year. I don't know. I think tomorrow's rate, or tomorrow's I think tomorrow's decision means a lot because, or tomorrow's CPI inflation data means a lot, just because I think the market is really weighted towards rate cuts right now. I think the market wants rate cuts. I think it's just a big day. I think the market wants rate cuts. Okay, wait, did AMC earnings come out already? I think they did. Yeah, AMC earnings popped up this morning here. They showed up at 1.4 versus 1.34 billion estimates for Q2 sales. $0 profit EPS, but it's better than -4 expected. So AMC is up this morning a little bit on earnings news as well. Yeah, you can see AMC here. It went to 350 almost. Didn't quite hold though. Yeah, we got Big Bear AI earnings this evening too. We got Monday this morning, Weight Watchers, Franco Nevada, a couple other ones. Do you think CPI data can cause a crash in markets? Adriana Kugler quit. I could it? Yes. Will it? Probably not. Could it? Yes. Again, higher CPI is important for this reason. Is that I think we're going to get even more polarized look at inflation. I think the inflation data today is even more important, or tomorrow is even more important, because I think we're in a situation where everybody knows we want lower inflation, right? Regardless of what you want, what you don't want, you want lower inflation for the most part. Higher inflation will mean less likely for rate cuts, and I think the market wants rate cuts. And I just think people want lower inflation in general, of course. Yeah, Nvidia heading back up, AMD heading back up as well here. Kind of somewhere in the middle, though. We had these big drops in markets, and now we're kind of slowly moving back up here. Again, I'm also in like Amazon. I bought the dip after earnings, filled half of the gap so far at least. I'm in HIMS right now on a swing trade. It's up a little bit today too. I'm in PayPal still, I think. Rebounded back up a little bit this morning. Oh, I'm in Crocs. Forgot about Crocs. All right, let's maybe trade a little bit. I don't think I've traded today yet. What did I make here? I think I'm green on this account. Yeah. I have to draw some levels here. You got 750 up there. That's probably pretty important. I'm trying to figure out what level I want to do here. There's a couple little lows. I guess I could just use that one for now. This level seems to be holding, the 728 level. Truflation suggests rates have dropped over the past few weeks. Maybe inflation, slightly different metric. Who is likely to get fired if inflation comes in high? I don't know. Market may want rate cuts, but the people can't afford current prices, let alone any more increased inflation. In my opinion, the decrease in rates won't offset the increase in prices. Yeah, I mean, prices are going down, really. Not really. I mean, they might slow down, but you know how it goes. They're not really going to go down. All right, I'm thinking about shorting this. I don't know. I'm going to try, I guess. This is a challenge account, by the way. We're just getting in kind of early. The range is still pretty small. I think the market might have a sideways kind of neutral trend as well leading into CPI. You know, a lot of the time the day before CPI inflation, unless we get some big announcement, a lot of the time the day before is kind of sideways. And the range is very sideways now too, but yeah, look at Bitcoin though, man. Bitcoin around all-time highs. Circle earnings tomorrow. Yeah. Red day? Maybe. Yeah, is it? Did somebody say there's a White House announcement today? There's some type of announcement at 10? Is that true? Bitcoin dipping down too here. I did. What announcement is it? What's the announcement? I'm gonna add to this a little bit here, and that's it. We're not gonna add anymore. The range is small enough where we're down like less than $50 right now. I will cut it quickly if it starts to break this triple top though. Some announcement at 10, we don't know. From who though? Where's the announcement coming from? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so it's a presidential announcement, I guess. All right, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this now. It's too high up there. It looks like I cut it just in time, but ChatGPT unveiled a new its ChatGPT 5 is now out. Yeah, so ChatGPT 5 is now out. I'm using it a little bit this morning. It's not bad. So the Nasdaq's still testing that 728 level. And again, this week is actually very busy in a lot of different ways. It's not just economics, or it's not just CPI data. We have PPI data on Thursday. On Wednesday, we have Tom Barkin, Austin Goolsby, and Raphael Bostic speaking. Thursday, we got jobless claims and the PPI inflation report. And then Friday, we have retail sales, Michigan, prelim, consumer sentiment, Empire State manufacturing, industrial production, capacity utilization, and more. And so, yeah, it looks like me cutting it right there was good. We're just kind of sideways, though. It's hard to really find a range here. That's why it was a challenge account, because I just don't really trust it right now. Cleaning up DC. Yeah. Oh, yeah, our poll's still live. We did a poll here. 67% think higher, 33% think lower. Look at this big green candle. Let me make sure there's no breaking news come out. I saw it. All right, so I see South Africa DA party is concerned that the U.S. trade deal chances are slim without concessions on rate policies. according to Reuters. Yeah, so core prices are expected to have risen 0.3%, which would bring the 12-month increase to 3.1% from 2.9 in June and 2.8 in May. Headline prices are expected to have risen 0.24%, which would lift the 12-month measure to 2.8%. I don't know. I'm showing last July headline CPI inflation showed up at 0.3%. Not July, for June they were 0.3%. For July they're expecting 0.2%. So I'm expecting like a decrease here. We'll try to buy this dip. It's small. It's a challenge account, so I gotta risk it, I think, eventually. But if we get too much chop, we're just trading in profit we already have on the day, or on the account already. Buy one more. There we go. Try to get better using limit orders, trading futures too. Thoughts on Circle now? I think it's interesting, but it's also, it's one of those big names that you never know it's gonna hold. It's gone up big, of course, but it also has decreased a lot. So it's interesting, but also risky, in my opinion. So we'll see what their earnings show, but yeah, interesting but risky. Kind of my take on it. All right, so we took a piece of this off here just to protect it. There you go. Take another piece off up here if we can cut it. That should fill, huh? Okay, somehow it filled me. Alright. Yeah, we're pushing up. I can hold this break even now. We're only 7 ticks higher, so it won't matter too much. All right, guys. Still at PayPal, but I try to hold this break even, but Bitcoin's still heading down though. Where's the all-time high in Bitcoin futures? $123.6. So we're over at 120s. There we go, that's good. Try to cut it up here. I didn't really get filled. Did we retrace back up there and get filled? I'm just gonna cut it right there. PE ratio for what? Coinbase? Oh, Circle. Yeah, limit orders are typically better for me. Again, so 69% of people think we're going to get higher than expected CPI inflation data tomorrow. It looks like most people think we're not going to get... Do you guys think we're going to get an extension in the China tariff? For China tariffs? I think we're going to get an extension. I think that's the most likely situation. I don't think we're going to get a deal, but I think we're going to get an extension of some way. And I think Lutnick, remember, so Lutnick did say he thinks we're going to get an extension as well. So inflation reports could sway investors. Again, the big news is that NVIDIA, AMD are going to have to pay 15% cut from AI chip sales in China to the United States government in exchange for export licenses. It caused big drops, but they're kind of rebounding back up. If you look at Nvidia, it's almost all the way back up. It's at like 182s now. AMD all the way back up over 170s. But this caused big drops early this morning at like 2 or 3 a.m. Bro, the Christmas music just keeps popping up here, dude. Why? It's August. Yeah, I think we're going to get a 90-day extension again. And so I think the next extension is probably going to end, let's see, August to September, September to October, October to November. I think the next one's going to be November. The next tariff deadline is just going to push it back to November. And so we'll see. Nasdaq's still very choppy though. But again, you look at the SPY, the previous closing price up. SPY's pretty green. I'll put the previous close up here as well. Bitcoin 120K. Yeah, Bitcoin pump it up this morning. Looks good. I might trade some Bitcoin futures as well on Top Step. Listen, I love Christmas. Just don't get me wrong. I love the holidays. But I'm not ready for the music yet. I gotta get like Halloween, Thanksgiving in there first. You know. Alright, we're at 736 right now. 736. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think markets are just on hold ahead of CPI. Look at the NASDAQ push. I'm watching 750s too. If we get up to 750s, I might reject. But again, look at AMD rip up. It's over 170. Nvidia is kind of fighting its way back. Bitcoin over 120. The previous closing price, the red to green level for Nvidia is 182.70s. We're at 182, so we're about 70 cents away from that on the NASDAQ. Or on Nvidia. So Nvidia is only about 70 cents away from going green on the day after the big export 15% tax for China sales for microchips, Nvidia and AMD. Yeah, so markets are now pricing in several rate cuts from the Fed this year. MBX at about a bottom Friday at 10. That's the write up. You talking about micro Bitcoin? What do you think about the 15% tax on Nvidia and AMD? Honestly, I really don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily good. That's a steep tax. 15% is a very large margin. I don't necessarily like it. And the stocks didn't like it either. They're kind of finding some rebounds back up though. But it's certainly not good, I would say. Again, Wall Street Journal was reporting that Intel CEO is going to meet with the president today. Intel's back up some. NXST is reportedly in advanced talks to buy TG Narum. Announced its intent to buy AI firm Northern Data. AMC again is up in pre-market after beating EPS and revenue expectations, although it didn't really hold. It got up to like 350 and then it came all the way back down to 314s. And the NASDAQ range is pretty small, but we got some optimism this morning ahead of CPI data. Yeah, I mean, taking a look here, most people are expecting rate cuts. Just based off of, again, this is based off of the sheer weakness in the labor report that we got. Was it last Friday? No, it wasn't last Friday. It was 2 weeks ago. You see kind of the probabilities here. You see how much this has changed. So right after August 4th, which, you know, remember the labor report was Friday the 1st, and then August 4th would be the following Monday. We had 90+% odds. By the August 8th, we decreased to 88.86, and now we're at 86.5%. Remember, this was 40% odds of a pause in September, in July, but that has gone down to currently only 13% chance. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to hold down here, but yeah. Again, they're expecting, what, 3 or 4 rate cuts now? Which would mean we're going to cut rates every month this year. Or every Fed meeting we have left. Yeah, so we only have September, October, and December left. So we have 3. So what do we get? 3 odds, right? Not 4. 3 rate cuts. Could be 50, 25, 25, which is what they did at the end of last year. So if we mirror what we did last year for rates, the first time in September we got a 50 basis point cut, and then we got 25 in November last year. It wasn't October, it was November of last year, and then December of last year we got another 25. So we got a full percentage point base cut by the end of last year. I think they could mirror that, and I think if Powell is going to have an influence over this, I think that might be what he does. I think that's going to be a situation in which Powell's going to have the least amount of criticism towards him. It's going to be the most understandable thing to do for Powell. Just because if you think about it like this, right? Powell, I don't think we're going to get a 50 basis point cut. I don't even think that's on the table. But if Powell starts cutting in September through December, he can say, hey, I did this last year when somebody else was president, and now I'm doing it now when you're president. So I have no bias. I have no favor towards any specific one. I'm doing the same thing. And I think that's a path for Powell where we might see something like that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But again, inflation tomorrow matters. Inflation tomorrow matters. And again, the other big thing is what happens with quantitative tightening. Quantitative tightening is a restrictive Federal Reserve policy, or action, I should say, in which they reduce their balance sheet by, it's called passive QT. It's not direct QT. It's called passive QT, where direct QT would be like if they started selling their balance sheet off. Passive QT is just letting their current holdings mature and run off. But we're still doing QT, passive QT in that way. The big question is what happens. Look at the NASDAQ spike up here. Mexican industrial output came out. I don't think that's having any significant effect though here. Let's see. MicroStrategy purchased 155 Bitcoins between August 4th and August 10th. Software rate at 4.35 versus 4.35. All right, let's watch 750s here. You know what? I'm gonna start shorting right here at 750. The range is small, and if this is catalyst driven, that's all right. We didn't quite touch 750 here, so we might add a little piece of this left, but that's it. We're gonna get a chance for 750 to reject. Let me know if you guys see any news that might change things. Paramount seals a $7.7 billion U.S. exclusive rights deal with UFC, according to Financial Times. Did we get a UFC deal done? There we go. Look at this. There we go. Hey, we're nicely green on the day, I think, now, too. We have to be. Yep. All right, so that's how you play my levels, I think, here. That's how you have to play them. Yeah, we're green on the day. There you go. Just scalp them. But yeah, so Paramount apparently sealing a $7.7 billion UFC deal. Let's see if I can dig deeper into this. Paramount announced Monday morning that it struck a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal to claim exclusive streaming and broadcast rights in the United States for the United Fighting Championship. I'm hoping they just got this deal wrong, right? Yeah, so it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship, just to put this into perspective. So whoever wrote this deal, maybe AI got it wrong. But yeah, UFC, Paramount getting a deal done. Nasdaq's pumping up. I don't know if this is on that deal or not, but a UFC deal. Micron upgrades guidance, sees Q4 revenue of 2025 at 11.2 billion, plus or minus 100 million, previously expected at 10.4 to 11. So Micron with good guidance in microchips. This might be propelling markets higher. Yeah, this is MU earnings. Sorry guys, this is MU. Yeah, this is what's going on right here. It's the Micron upgrades right there. Micron upgraded guidance is what happened here. Yeah, we put it scrolling at the bottom. It's in yellow at the bottom right now. That's what it is. If you look at MU, it's kind of pulling back a little bit now though. Tesla breaking that 335 level up there. Looks good. Looks good. It's a Paramount, the UFC deal. Honestly, hopefully they make it free. Fox, or not Fox, ESPN sucks, bro. Like ESPN, I'm sorry, but like they make you jump through freaking hoops. You know, you got to pay extra for it. Like I'm just not about it, man. I'd rather buy Paramount. I have Paramount anyway, Paramount Plus, even though Paramount's really Comcast, and I hate Comcast. So this is basically like Comcast doing a deal with the UFC. But still, ESPN was just... their streams weren't reliable either. Like, the big streams would lag. Palantir's PE ratio is very high. Yeah, I mean, the VIX is up this morning after the NVIDIA AMD news. Again, NVIDIA and AMD are going to have to pay 15% in their chip sales to China. 15% of their sales in China to the U.S. government for export licenses. And so that's what's going on now. I mean, the VIX is at 15. It's not really low. You know, it's not really high. I guess it's low, but I think most people expected to get a deal done with the U.S. and China. I think that's what's weighing on a lot of people's sentiment is a U.S.-China chip, or not, I'm sorry, a U.S.-China tariff deal, 90-day pause, is probably what's going to happen again. We're going to get another 90-day extension, almost certainly. Ugh. Yeah, Paramount with the $7.7 billion deal. Yeah, hey, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it, guys. We got 23 minutes left until 8:30. We don't really have any 8:30 economic data. MU upgraded their guidance, a little bit better guidance, specifically for Q4 2025 revenue. They came in at 11.2 billion now, plus or minus 100 million. Previously expected was 10.4 to 11, so it came in higher than expected for their Q4 2025 revenue guidance. And again, they are up a little bit. They're back up to 124.50s, and this is on the heels of the microchip deal with NVIDIA and AMD. I'm also seeing news around 10 bars are looking at U.S. investment grade debt offerings Monday, according to Bloomberg, citing an informal survey of underwriters. Nasdaq's not quite at all-time highs. All-time highs on the Nasdaq are like what? Let me make sure. All-time highs on the Nasdaq are 850, right? Yeah, 850, 840s, 850s roughly is the Nasdaq all-time highs. Yeah, if you look at this, here's the all-time highs right here, 845. The regular NQ all-time highs are 845. The micro Nasdaq 850. So anywhere around there, 845, 850 is where the all-time highs are. So we're about $100 away actually from all-time highs in the NQ. MU still pushing up though. We are pushing up. U.S. President posts tariffs are making our country strong and rich, is what he said. Again, President just posted tariffs are making our country strong and rich. End quote. I'm not agreeing with them or disagreeing with them. I'm just covering the news. Again, President posts, quote, tariffs are making our country strong and rich. Heard the government dumped $100 billion in treasuries yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it'd probably move things. You gotta look at treasuries to see though. I mean, yields are certainly up a little bit from last week here. So what was Friday? Friday on yields was, I'm gonna look at the calendar. Why is my calendar not showing up? Anyways. Friday was the 8th, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And so yields are up since the 8th, but they're down a little bit. It's early this morning. Again, so the president posting tariffs are good, basically. Paramount sealing a deal with the U.S. Citi raising the S&P 500 target on tax boost. So Citi strategist Scott Kroner lifted the year-end S&P target to 6,600 from 6,300, citing tax benefits from the big, beautiful bill that could offset tariff impact. Earnings forecast rose to 272 for 2025 and 308 for 2026. The Trump Media Bitcoin ETF is going to launch later this year, according to some sources as well. President is still speaking. And again, MicroStrategies bought another 18 million Bitcoin. All right, so look at MU break that high of the day again. It's up to 125.70s. I think this is helping the NASDAQ push up a little bit here. Like, we have our levels on our charts, but here's 750. See if we hold. Again, if we get good news tomorrow, we could break all-time highs. And we also had the Barrick Mining CEO say we are at the gold counter awaiting for the clarity from the U.S. regarding the tariff on gold bars. Do not see the impact of tariffs on gold bars on mining companies, and we are price takers. Again, this is Barrick Mining. Yeah, so remember, this is referring to last week we got Swiss tariffs announcement, which were going to negatively impact gold and some other stuff, at least in terms of gold bars. The Swiss were worried about how the impact of gold and the gold bars, it was going to directly impact gold regarding Swiss tariffs. And so that's what he's referencing here. Again, this is Bitcoin close to all-time highs. It's a couple thousand away from it, but it's close. We're at 127.30s right now, 127.30s. Thanks for being on earlier than the other guys. It's already late for me. So nice to get the extra started. Hey, thank you, Starlight. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir. We try over here. We try. Honestly, I've been up since like 4:30 this morning. I fell asleep yesterday. Oh my gosh, dude. There's nothing but Christmas music. Why do they keep playing Christmas music? I've been up since 4:30 in the morning. I fell asleep early last night. All right, so we're now dipping down. We're under 750 here. Look at the 750 level reject. Again, MU's pushing up on updated guidance. Microchip, NVIDIA, and AMD are down some, but they're starting to rebound back up. I think MU's going to help them too, just because it's in the same sector. And let's see if they go green on the day. But look at this dip, this pullback here. Again, there's two major things that might influence markets today. Number one is specifically we have CPI inflation data tomorrow that might influence rates. If we get high inflation tomorrow, rate cut odds are going to go down, not up. If we get low inflation tomorrow, rate cut odds might increase even more. And so it's an important report. It's one of the biggest inflation reports we get every month. It's at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. We also have, again, the other big news is, will we get an extension in the China tariffs? If we don't get an extension before tomorrow, China tariffs are going to pick up to over 100%. That might negatively impact things if we don't get a deal done. But even Lutnick has stated that he thinks we're going to get an extension as well. Well, I'm the type of person, if I get in bed and start watching a movie, I'm asleep in 20 minutes. Carol freaking hates it. Like, if I get in bed, I'm going to sleep. Especially if you put on some nonfiction. You put on some... Carol likes watching monarch history. She likes monarch history, like Henry VIII, the Tudor dynasty, and all that stuff. So she'll throw one of those documentaries on, and I'm out. I'm sleeping. Amazon, yeah, we'll see. All right, so we're still dipping down a little bit, guys. We're waiting for other breaking news. Again, UFC and Paramount did a deal, which is pretty big. Which I'm personally really excited for the Paramount. I love MMA, right? I train jiu-jitsu. I've been watching MMA for years and years. I'm for the Paramount deal, even though I hate Comcast. I almost bought this dip too. Maybe I should have bought this dip. All right, so we're rebounding back up. Let's see if we break 750s. Again, here's gold. Gold actually down a little bit today. The VIX is low and gold is down, which shows a little bit of stability in markets. You know, less volatility and more stability. I don't think UFC is moving markets. I think MU is moving markets. Yeah, I think MU upgrading their guidance as a big microchip company is helping markets on the upside. I think NVIDIA and AMD were rebounding prior to this anyway, though. And again, my investments, I bought United Health last week. Any other stocks you guys think are down a lot that I could buy up? Let me hear them in chat. I'll take a look at them and tell you whether I like them or not. Again, I'm not an investment professional. Understand all this stuff on screen. I can't guarantee anything. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. Might have no idea what I'm talking about and be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Don't copy me. But with that said, if you want to list some stocks, I could take a look at them. I'm just looking for, I'll explain the type of stock that I'm looking to buy. I don't want to buy anything at all-time highs. I want to buy a stock that's maybe down on the year, maybe down over the last couple months, but that's not in a long-term downward trend that would reflect a more negative long-term sentiment in the company. Specifically, I would prefer a low PE ratio company, and it's got to be a company that when I think about it long-term, I think it's going to succeed. You know, I don't want to buy companies that I think are going obsolete, like Dollar Tree or Dollar General. No offense if you like those. I just want to buy companies that I think have a higher probability of rebounding back up that are already down. All right, so let's take a look. AMD. I don't know if AMD is actually down. Yeah, I mean, AMD on a yearly chart is actually specifically green on the year. Here's AMD. Right, so this is when the year started. AMD is actually green on the year. Pretty significantly. I mean, if you put a weekly chart up, I think AMD's red. But yeah. You put a weekly chart up, AMD's red, but aside from that, it's still it's up too much. Like, I don't want to buy anything that looks like this over the past year. You know, because then I buy it and it goes like this, you know. And so I'd prefer not to. Trade Desk is down big after their earnings. Personally, I don't know enough about this, but maybe it's time to buy it. I don't know. Let's take a look deeper into it. All right, so Trade Desk is a digital advertising tech company that operates a demand-side platform for programmatic advertising. Ads can run on websites, streaming service, smart TVs. They use real-time bidding. Their platform helps advertise. The agency buys digital ad space. Yeah, but they're going to be competing with the big boys, though. Like, TTD is going to have to compete with Apple, Google, Amazon, you know, more. They're going to, even here it says they're competing with Google's DV360, Amazon Advertising, Magnite. What's the PE ratio? If it has a low PE ratio, I might still buy it. It's 65. It's a little bit too high. A little bit too high. Comcast way down in low PE. I refuse to buy Comcast. I'm not really a moral trader, but I ain't freaking buying Comcast, bro. I'm good. Nike down 2%. Yeah, but Nike's been downtrending since 2021. They were at $180 in 2021. They're now at yeah, so Nike's down too much. Airbnb? Yeah, but this more negatively reflects the real estate market over everything else. They're down though. They're down to 120. Yeah, I hate Comcast. I genuinely hate Comcast with a passion. What have they done to you? I've said it once, I'll say it again. The problem with Comcast is that Comcast, I don't know if they pay their CSR reps commissions, but they will just straight up lie to you. And they have to me many times. They've said, hey, it's $120. All right, bro, here, hold on. I gotta mute this dude. Let me mute this. For yeah. Yeah, they'll just straight up lie to you. If you're like $120 net out the door, Comcast is like, yeah, $120, you won't pay anything extra, and you're like, okay, cool, sign me up. And then they'll get you in there, and then the next month you get your bill and it's like $250, and you call them and you're like, hey, y'all promised me $120 net out the door, and they'll basically just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I remember even telling them like, hey, I know y'all record these calls, go listen to the last call I had with you guys. And they're just like, no, we can't do that, you know. And so again, they're just scammy company, sleazy. I don't think you need Comcast anymore anyway, but yeah. Eli Lilly, yeah, Eli Lilly had some bad news regarding weight loss drugs. You know, Eli Lilly was developing a weight loss drug, and apparently the weight loss drug did not meet primary endpoints. And so like it basically didn't work as they thought it would. And so that's going to be like a net loss for them in a lot of ways. People are speculating. And so they're down pretty significantly. And so Lilly's down for a reason, like a justifiable reason, I think. So it's not one of those ones where I want to buy the dip. It still might work. Like it's still might rebound regardless. But it's just not one of those companies I want to buy the dip in, if that makes sense. Adobe's going to lose a lot of business to AI. And they're getting involved with AI. Down on the year. Adobe's been downtrending for a few years now. And again, this is specifically because of AI. I don't like it because of that. It might be worth a dip buy at 300. I still think Adobe's going to be a good company. But again, they've been downtrending for a minute. And again, this is specifically because AI is going to replace a lot of their business, right? A lot of their business. What's Adobe's PE ratio, though? Let's take a look at that. PE ratio is currently 21. Forward PE of 15. Might buy Adobe. They're pretty cheap relative to everything. Look at the NASDAQ fall here. Okay, so we got some news. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has increased scrutiny of incoming merchandise, with the Department of Justice expanding its use of legal tools to crack down on tariff evasion, according to the Nikkei, citing lawyers, customs, brokers, and importers. So this news just came out. I don't know if this is what's negatively impacting markets. I'm going to put this news up in chat. Canva IPO. Yeah, I like Canva as a company. Lockheed Martin down. I don't mind Lockheed Martin. I mean, it's down pretty big. What's their PE ratio? I might buy this dip right here as well, chat. I might buy this dip just to day trade it. I think 5 contracts there. We'll add some more too if it keeps dipping down. Lockheed Martin's about 24 PE. Okay, we're gonna add some down here. We'll add up to 20. We've got a cushion on the day. If we creep back up. You get gold come down here too, short term. I don't know. Lockheed Martin's an option. So is Adobe. Hey, what's up, Sam? All right, so Hatchery Partner is said to be in talks to buy major global cocoa trader Tutin, according to Reuters. I don't know if that move's really going to impact things. So yeah, we're down on this trade for sure. The Nasdaq's still just breaking down here. We're going to cut it and wait. We're kind of going back and forth. We're green and then red. Nasdaq's just kind of flushing down. But again, this is a challenge account, so not that it doesn't matter really much at all. CoreWeave, it's so volatile is the problem for CoreWeave. So volatile. It's a recent IPO. That's the problem for me, is that it's just so volatile. The big thing today is that the president's claiming Washington, D.C. Liberation Day, crime, savagery, and more. He made a post. He said the press conference on crime and, quote, beautification will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the press briefing room, and it will not only involve crime, murder, capital, cleanliness, and other stuff. So, I don't know. Do you guys think this will help or hurt markets? Anyone know what's going on with AI? So AI, NVIDIA and AMD specifically are going to have to pay the U.S. government 15% in order to get export licenses to China. 15% of their sales in China in order to get export licenses. So they're basically going to have to pay like a royalty to the United States regarding their chip sales to China. That came out early this morning at like 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Look at this bounce right here. So yeah, that came out early this morning. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's good for Nvidia and AMD, but I think they need those export licenses, and so they understand they need export licenses. Look at gold coming down here. This is probably on the news of the updated border security. It's probably what's dragging this higher. Updated border security. Yeah, we got 2 minutes, but we don't really have any data coming out in 2 minutes. Basically flat in terms of economic reports. Yeah, today's the only day of the week where we don't have a lot of it's the only day of the week where we don't have a lot of economic reports at 8:30. So I think it's inconsequential. They will provide tax loopholes to make up for it. Yeah, probably. So gold came all the way down to 3,400 here. And again, this is on the potentially on the news that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection has increased scrutiny of incoming merchandise, while the Department of Justice expands the use of legal tools to crack down on tariff evasion, according to the Nikkei, citing lawyers and custom importers. AI didn't really have bad earnings, not really. MU upgraded their guidance in a better way. So if you look at like MU stock, here's MU right here. They upgraded their guidance. They're all the way up to 125s now. This is helping Nvidia and other microchip stocks rebound a little bit just on sympathy. But they were kind of rebounding back up before this news dropped. You know, so MU updated their guidance, but again, they were kind of coming up already regardless. Look at this big turn. We are starting to see a downward swing here in a lot of different stuff, chat. So just be careful. I'm assuming gold and silver are dumping on that increased customs and border protection scrutiny. But you never know. Yeah, I think the news like that we heard this morning is that the president is kind of doing deals with companies now. So like we see trade deals with countries. We're starting to see them with companies now too, specifically Nvidia and AMD, and that's kind of driven a lot of the stuff. Yeah, that's driven a lot of the stuff that we've seen. And again, the Nasdaq's kind of turned to. I don't really see any big news that might influence the Nasdaq, but taking a look, like gold's down, Nvidia's down. Try to look at the stocks this might be actually influencing here. Any stocks that you see are following us down here with the Nasdaq? Amazon's creeping down a little bit. Thermo Fisher has received FDA approval for one of their bio drugs. All right, so UBS Global Research again raised the S&P 25 year-end index target to 6,100 from 5,500. They set S&P 26 year-end target to 6,800. Thermo for UBS. Yeah, so again, a lot of people say this deal with Nvidia and AMD marks like a era for businesses in the U.S. U.S. Commerce Department started issuing H2O export licenses again, but nobody knew why. This started last Friday. This is 2 days after Nvidia CEO met with the president. Nvidia took a $4.5 billion hit in the July quarter after the president introduced the original license requirement. And he said Jensen said the ban of Nvidia chips to China would result in almost $50 billion hit in 2 to 3 years. And so that's probably where we're starting to see these deals with companies done, is so they can avoid some of this. The trade war is now entered, again, a part in which we're getting deals with companies now versus countries. You know, we saw that like the president did threaten a 25% tariff on iPhones in May. And then again, three days ago, Apple responded with a $600 billion investment in the U.S., which was their deal, their deal to get around some of the stuff. Intel, you know, president's pushing for Intel CEO to resign, and now he's scheduled to meet with the president today as well. And so these are kind of things that are shaking the markets right now. Small companies might be in trouble though, because they're not going to be able to get a deal done as easily, and so they're going to be like most vulnerable to some of this stuff, I think. Space stocks, maybe. Yeah, deals with companies versus countries is the new dynamic that we're starting to see, especially over the last few days. And so yeah, we'll see what happens. It's interesting for sure. And again, the big news: Paramount got a deal done with the UFC now. So Paramount UFC deal was done, and so they're gonna have a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal with the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and Paramount to exclusive streaming rights. So as long as they can keep up with it, ESPN was kind of crappy towards the end of it. All right, so we're rejecting right here the 728 200 exponential level here. I don't know what to do with this though. Could see a cup and handle pattern starting to move down a little bit here. Also, guys, if you haven't already, check out TopStat. Beautiful way to help support the channel. No PDT in futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, some currencies. Very similar to day trading stocks. No PDT restrictions in futures, so it gets you around the PDT rule. You get started for $50 a month for their base one. If you pass it, you get a 50K funded account. If you fail it, you lose $50. It's not the end of the world. Great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose. They pay out hundreds of millions, fund thousands. It's just the best way to learn, in my opinion. But again, I'm biased because I get paid by them, but it's just genuinely useful for traders. I'll put the link up if you want to help support the channel. And yeah, they're an affiliate or sponsor of mine, so I'm biased, of course, but genuinely useful. I'll put the link up. Look at the NASDAQ break down here. Rejecting right there, that 728. Here's the link right here. They got a new dashboard as well, which lets you track payouts. They're some of the most reliable with payouts too. All right, we're starting to flush out a little bit. Let's see if we hit that 710 level, which was kind of like a confirmed support or resistance area. Gold is starting to rebound back up. Gold's back up to 34s. I'm watching the 710 level here, though. Does AI stagnate without quantum in the future? You don't think we'll have quantum? I don't know if it stagnates. I think it's going to keep growing for a period of time. I don't know how long that is, but I think AI is that next big thing. And I think AI is getting very good. I think we're going to start to see it implanted into video games in a more profound way. I think we're going to start to see it implemented into our everyday life in a more profound way. And I think it already has, but it's just that dynamic is going to grow more and more and more. Of course, if you think about how much it's grown over 3 or 4 years, and you know, again, look into the future, extrapolate it into the future, it's going to grow a lot. You know, and the companies around it should grow too. That's why we're seeing so much strength in the stock market. And so many people are like, oh, the stock market's not going to hold. The stock market is not going to hold. Maybe not. You never know. But AI is driving it for sure. Intel has 100% US fabs, probably most of out of all of it. Yeah. I bought Crux last week. I don't know what it's doing right now. Yeah, so look, we did bounce right around 710. Not quite there, but close enough. I like Quantum, but I don't think they're without risk. Like, I like quantum stocks, but I don't think they're without risk. I think there's, of course, still risk involved with them, you know. All right, so we're still flushing down. I'm still looking at 710s. I wouldn't mind buying it at like 23.7s here. We'll see. I want to buy this now. Put up my combine account here too. Show you it. Take some more off right here, maybe. Go. I'm just worried this level's gonna reject. Data center's gonna need a lot more power. Yeah. Yeah, I bought Crocs last week. I bought a couple things last week. Again, I talked about this a lot, but I bought. You guys remember me picking these out? I bought United Health, which is honestly one of my best positions still. Like, we bought United Health at 240. It's at 253s right now. So we bought United Health way down here. Like way down here where it was. We bought it at 240 even, roughly, right around here. And so we're in a very nice position there. We've already taken profit on it once. I could add to it here. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest. I'll probably just sit on it. But we bought that. We bought Apple originally at like a very cheap level, and we ended up selling this one pretty quick. So we bought Apple down here after earnings. It was like 203, 205 or something. It hit 230s. That one's doing really well. We bought PayPal, but we've already taken profit in PayPal. So we took profit on PayPal back here a few days ago, and it kind of dipped back down. We're at a small piece of it left, but we're green on PayPal net, I'm pretty sure. We also bought Amazon. Again, we bought Amazon way down here at like 2s, at 210, 211 or something like that, and now it's at 220s. So Amazon did good. We're still in a little piece of that, and then we bought Hims and Crocs as well. Hims were still red on slightly red, I think, but we're basically flat on that one, and then Crocs were basically flat as well. So I want to give those a chance to go up. I don't really like Crocs long term. I talked about it before. I don't like fashion companies long term. So, yeah, I don't like fashion companies long term. I think there's too much risk to fashion. Like, I was telling my son about it. Like, styles are too cyclical. They change. They you know. Like, I wish normal size clothes would stay in style. Like, not super tight, not super loose, just normal, right? Like, why does it have to be polarized? Big baggy jeans, big t-shirts, you know, super skinny jeans, super skinny t-shirts. Like, why? Like, just be normal. Like, why don't you just normal size clothes? You know, it doesn't. Get off my lawn is what I'm saying. Chat, get off my lawn. That's what I'm saying. I'm old, I guess, but it looks ridiculous. And now I guess I understand how adults felt in the 90s when I was wearing Jinkos. But yeah, MU is up because of MU is up now because of upgraded guidance is what this is. Did you ever hold stock until the earnings release date? Yeah. My 11-year-old son wears Crocs. He's the only one in my family that will. All right, Nvidia was almost at all-time highs this morning. It's all the way up at 183.50. 185s or so is the all-time highs. It's now back at 182, starting to rebound. The previous closing level in Nvidia is 182.70s. Again, it's down on the export 15%. Royalty is what I'm calling it. I don't know. I bought some Vans the other day. I like Vans. I bought some Vans. Those are cool. Outside of that, I wear like Hey Dudes a lot. I just wear anything that can slide on my feet. Like, I refuse to wear Crocs, but I don't like tying shoes either. Yeah, the shorts are kind of like the 80s. Like Karate Kid shorts. And then the shirts are like the 90s. In the 90s, everybody had big shirts. But it was like big shirts and baggy jeans. And I guess that's the same style now. But the shorts are still like the 80s, where they're like super short. You know? I stopped trying to be cool a long time ago. I just wear normal clothes. Yeah. The only people that really care that much about like fitting in are like genuine young people, like 15, 16-year-olds. Like, they care the most. Everybody else, like maybe in your 20s, you might care a little bit. But once you hit 30, you're just kind of like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm just going to wear normal size clothes. Gold's starting to push up. Gold at 34.10s. I had some Birkenstocks in the 90s. I had some Birkenstocks and Fossil watches. I remember that. '90s museums. I'd go to that, I think. You know. Quantum is the next big thing. Crypto is now. AI is the current bubble. You might be right. I mean, I think quantum's definitely the next big thing, just based off of a lot of the quantum stocks have made crazy gains in the last 12 months. Crazy gains. Like QBTS, you know, Rigetti, all those quantum names are flying up. All right, so gold's still creeping up. Nasdaq's kind of flattened out though, chat, so we're not really doing much with Nasdaq. It's just not moving. Hookah necklace. I had a shell necklace, I remember, a couple of them. They were cool back then, man. Everybody was like, you got to get a shell necklace. They were only cool for about 3 years though. I might have had one. If you're talking about like the mid 90s, it was more of like that chrome bead necklace. I remember that thing being cool a lot in the mid 90s. You know. That was right around like grunge. And so everybody wanted to act like they had problems. You know? Like they were deep and they had problems. Still like that kind of, but you know. Yeah, I mean, quantum is interesting because quantum has something called superposition, which is essentially like whenever a computer operates, it operates in an order. It says do this, then do this, do this, then do this, then do this, right? It operates in an order. And this is a very simplified way of explaining it. And so it's just kind of like the easiest way to explain it. But computers will do it where it feels simultaneous to us because it's doing it so quickly. We don't really know. Like it just kind of does it very fast. But what quantum does is something called superposition, where it allows it to do processes simultaneously in a way, in a very specific way. And this makes it much more efficient and fast. Like it can solve problems faster. It can solve all these different things faster because of superposition. And yeah, that's what it does. That's why quantum is so useful and valuable, but they're incredibly fragile right now. Like you need to keep them in super temperature cooled environments, and they break and they glitch and you know, they're just fragile right now. But I think over time, anytime you have a need for something, especially in regard to technology, anytime you have a need for something, it eventually gets done. You know, like I was telling people about video games years ago with GameStop, telling them, hey, people aren't going to buy physical copies of video games in the future. It's just not going to happen. And one of the biggest arguments that I would hear back is that, oh, well, we don't have the storage capabilities to be able to download games in an efficient way. And what I told them is like, look, the market will catch up to it. If we have a need for something, and right now the video games need storage, the market's going to catch up. And if you think about how much storage has gotten better and better, even since like mid 2000s, it's grown exponentially in terms of memory usage and memory capabilities. And so storage capabilities, I should say. And so yeah, we're just going to see more and more of that. Anytime there's a need for something in technology, eventually we usually get it. Somebody figures out a way. Capitalism drives it. The news this morning is essentially that AMD and Nvidia have to pay a 15% tax on all their sales in China in order to get export licenses. That drove Nvidia and other microchip stocks down. And then we had a rebound back up. MU had good earnings, or revised their guidance upward, I should say. That caused an upward move in earnings. We've got this big press conference thing that's supposed to start at 10 a.m. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah. AMC dropped earnings that were better than expected. I mean, it's still not making money, but it's better than expected. And AMC stock is up from this. Tomorrow we have the CPI inflation report, which is massive in regards to rate cuts and expectations for them. As well as we have the China tariff extension ending. So we had a 90-day pause tariffs in China in May. It ends tomorrow. And so if we don't get another extension, which is the most probable situation here, it's most probable that we're going to get another extension. But if we don't for some reason, that of course can negatively impact markets. Those are the biggest news stories of the day. CoreWeave is pumping, earnings tomorrow, thoughts? Interesting. Now the shorts are super short. Yeah. I can't do the super short ones. AMC. Yeah, we're not really moving in the NASDAQ right now. It's just not doing anything. Sure miss when all you heard was music. You won't shut up now. You're trying to troll, but it's just kind of nonsensical, you know. If I don't talk, people get mad at me for not talking. You know, they're like, oh, you know. And so of course I'm gonna talk. I'm just responding to the chat. It's all right. You'll be okay. Go listen to music on YouTube, brother. Getting 5 pairs of boxers for the price of 4 at Walmart. Yeah, but because for that you got to go to Walmart, and I'm not really trying to go to Walmart. Yeah, CoreWeave is starting to push up, maybe break highs. We're up to 135s now. Look at CoreWeave, man. It's just making moves. Earnings tomorrow should be interesting. I appreciate you talking. Yeah. I don't know what to do with this. I mean, we just don't really have anything. We keep rejecting right here at this like 720, 730, and 200 exponential level. But I do expect us to have choppiness today. I don't really expect us to have any big momentum. What are the main quantums? CoreWeave, QBTS, Rigetti. What are the other quantum stocks that you guys like? All of them are up ridiculous amounts. CoreWeave being one of the most expensive recent IPOs. You know, you got QBTS, you got Rigetti, IONQ, yeah. Soundhound, Fly Digital, yeah, kind of. Again, the president is also thinking about reclassifying cannabis. I'm for it, honestly. You guys know my stance on it. Like, legalize it, regulate it, tax it. People are going to consume it regardless. And so you're putting them in bad situations, especially for an objectively less harmful thing than alcohol. Right? If you sell liquor at gas stations, you got to legalize cannabis to a certain extent. It's nonsensical if you don't. All right, so now we're breaking down here. Look at this. So we're about to hit that 710 level. I almost want to buy it, but this is too big of a downward push. Could be catalyst driven. Again, NVIDIA, AMD is going to pay 15% of China chip sales to the U.S. government. MU upgraded guidance as well. 14 billion Bitcoin shorts could be liquidated if it hits 125K. We did bounce at 710s. Cannabis stocks are up as the president suggests he's gonna not gonna legalize it, but he would he said he would what? He would lower the schedule of it to a less harmful schedule, or a less harmful rating, I should say. Alright, I'm gonna short into this here, I think. See if we come back down fast. Might add a little bit to it for fun, but yeah, I mean, again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Cannabis is a gateway drug because you have to go to an illegal drug dealer to buy it. And eventually he's going to offer whoever buys it other stuff. That's how it works. And so if you legalized it and regulated it, it wouldn't be anywhere near the gateway drug it is while it's illegal. And anybody with logic should understand what I just said, you know. But, again, lobbyists, you know, they lobby against it. Big pharma companies, the prison industry does as well. Yeah, he speaks at 10 a.m. regarding some type of cleanup of Washington, D.C. We'll see what he says. 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Yeah, honestly, alcohol is probably a larger gateway drug than cannabis could be, just because, like, when you consume too much alcohol, your logic genuinely goes, right? Like you have worse impulse control as well when you drink past a certain amount. And that's when, at least I've known a lot of people that's what happens. They go drinking and then they start wanting to do other stuff. So it's much bigger gateway drug, in my opinion. But it's subjective in terms of whether you think it is or not. It's a danger with it being, like, prohibition of it is dangerous. Just like the prohibition of alcohol sparked organized crime, it's the same thing with cannabis. You know. All right, guys, we got about 30 minutes into the open. I'm in this little short here. See what happens. I wanted to fall back down, but we'll see. There we go. We're slightly green. Let's see if we can break down a little bit more. We're just not really going anywhere in markets. Markets are apprehensive because of the CPI report and the China tariff deadline tomorrow, so they're less likely to make. Let's see if we can cut half there. There we go. Gonna hold this. No. What jobs are AI proof? I don't know, chat. What do you got? What jobs do you think are AI proof? A surgeon. Although that is probably not for long. Doctor, certainly not. Construction. Trades. Welding. Yeah, nurses. Again, we're going to hold this break even now if it pushes up past my entry point. I hope it doesn't, but we'll see. And we're going to cut it right there. We gave it a chance. It might keep going down, but market's too sideways right now. It's just not wanting to do anything. Too apprehensive ahead of the CPI report and the tariff deadline tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. Correlation versus causation, and what argument are you referring to? Yeah, I mean, a correlation doesn't necessarily mean it's the cause of it, sure. But it depends on which argument you're talking about. You're a mailman? I'm pretty safe. Yeah, higher CPI and PPI is going to freak markets out. For sure. Just because the market wants rate cuts, I think. And higher inflation data is going to mean less probability of rate cuts. And so I'm waiting for it tomorrow. We'll see. Postgraduate STEM research is an AI proof, in my honest opinion. Physics, math. I don't think so at all, Sam. I think those are some of the industries that are going to be affected by it the most. Why? Because now you can have machines do that work for you much easier, do research for you much easier, dig deeper, find correlations much easier. And so I think those are, you're obviously going to have a need for those people, but I certainly don't think they're AI proof. I think AI is going to have an influence over them just because of the research capabilities of AI. And as that gets better and better, people are going to use that more and more for that type of stuff. So if higher inflation means we finally get interest rates dropped, no. Higher inflation means we have less probabilities of rate cuts. So if we get higher inflation, it's less likely that we cut rates in September. Still might be probable depending on how high it is. But if we get higher inflation, in order to safely cut rates and not cause inflation problems, you need inflation to be under control and you need justifiable weakness in the labor market. The last labor report gave us that justifiable weakness. We had a revised 258,000 jobs downward for May and June. That's the justifiable weakness. That's why rate cut odds spiked to almost 90% and over 90% in some periods over the last week since last Friday. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. The other condition you kind of need is price stability. You know, the Fed always talks about their dual mandate. They want price stability and strong labor market. And so tomorrow we see the price stability aspect of it coming out. All right, so yeah, we're still just chopping sideways here. That 200 exponential is acting like a major resistance level here. If you look at it, look at this. 200 exponential just keeps rejecting it. Gold coming down though. Gold started to push towards all-time highs, but since came back down. Yeah, Bitcoin up to all-time highs on the retirement news for them, but it's kind of pulling back down. Not all-time highs. It hit 123s this morning, close to it, but it's kind of pulled back some. Yeah, innovation maybe, but I think eventually AI will be able to innovate too. Yeah, I would be trading more here, but we're just not really getting anything good. The market is just doing this right now. NASDAQ is here. You know, we've had Sideways. Looks a little heavy for sure. The 200 exponential keeps rejecting. But we're still up. No AI for more than a century will be able to invent new maths of physics. Century? I don't know, man. Maybe not right now, but I think a century is a long time. And I think if we have AI systems now, I give it 15 years. Maybe less. Based off of the extent of growth we've seen. You can disagree if you wish. I don't think how deep we get into technology in the future is predictable at this point in time. I don't know. Like, if you told people AI would take over the world this year, 10 years ago, people would be like, nah, that's not going to happen. And so I think we could have much faster tech growth, AI growth in 20 years than a lot of people expect, especially using AI as that new variable. Like, you can use AI to research more now, build more, produce more, manufacture more. That aspect of it can make the growth we see in AI very quick, very fast. It's faster than we're used to in terms of technology as well. AMC looking decent. Yeah, AMC had earnings this morning. So AMC had better than expected earnings. They came in at 0% versus a -4% expected. And they beat revenue expectations as well. Ron was on social media talking about how good the report was. Nasdaq is starting to break down though. We're at the bottom of the range. Let's see what happens. Gold dipping down. CoreWeave still pushing up. Nvidia still pulling back. Again, AMD and MU. Yeah, so look, here's the bottom of the range. Still bouncing at 710s or so. What's up, Tiny? Will the US market go up or down today? I have no idea. Would you now consider 710 to be a strong point or weakening point? Well, I mean, we're heading down, and so it could be weakening, but so far it's been holding here since basically right here. It's been bouncing off of this 710 level. It's certainly possible we go back up. But the more you chip away at a level sometimes like this, especially if we're downtrending, the higher chance eventually we are going to break it. It doesn't mean we're going to, but I would say it's a little bit more probable that we break it now. It just depends on what the broad stocks are doing. Nvidia, AMD. They keep heading down, we'll probably break under it. Yeah, we got CPI inflation data tomorrow. Very important. All right, so Bowman voted for a 25 basis point in the last meeting, said over the weekend core PC inflation appears to be moving much closer to the 2% target than is shown in the data, and it is appropriate to look through temporarily elevated inflation. Bowman added that upside risks to inflation have diminished, and she has more confidence that tariffs won't mean persistent inflation. She also said delayed action risks further labor market erosion and the need for a possibly bigger cut, as well as noted that the latest job market data reinforces our forecast for 3 rate cuts this year. In other news, Fed chair list now said to include former St. Louis Fed Bullard and former George Bush advisor Summerlin, according to Wall Street Journal. The president also this morning posted China is worried about its shortage of soybeans. Our great farmers produce the most robust soybeans. I hope China will quickly quadruple its soybean orders. This is also a way to substantially reduce China's trade deficit with the U.S. Rapid service will be provided. Thank you to the president of China. The president also said he's going to meet with the Russian president on August 15th in Alaska. Yeah, the Swiss government, including economy minister and interior minister, have reached out with Roche and Novartis to discuss the tariffs imposed by the U.S., according to Bloomberg. Intel CEO was singled out by the press to visit the White House on Monday, and so it looks like we might get another deal with another company in microchips. Last week, the president called for his removal, and now they're meeting at the White House. Reuters reported that the president called to oust CEO Tan could sidetrack chipmakers' turnaround. Micron upgraded guidance this morning. Again, we had the big news of microchips and AMD and NVIDIA deal with the U.S. government for 15% royalty is what I'm going to call it on China sales in order to get export licenses to China. Let me know what you guys think about all this stuff. It's interesting. Yeah, if we have high CPI inflation, the market's coming down, I think. We don't really know, but if we get high CPI inflation, market's probably coming down. Yeah, high CPI inflation is not good. It's going to cause probably drops in markets, of course. Just because it's going to decrease the odds of rate cuts. And again, if we take a look at the rate odds right now, still sitting at around 86%, 86 to 14% in terms of a cut probability. By the end of the year, it's looking 99% chance we at least get some rate cuts. So a lot of people were saying we get no rate cuts this year. It's looking like that's less likely now, just based off of the weak labor report that we got. There's still an 11% chance we get only a 25 basis point cut by the end of the year. There's a 42.6% chance that we get a 50 basis point, 0.5% cut by the end of the year. And there is a 45% chance we get 75, 25, 25, 25 in terms of cuts. So we'll see what that looks like. NASDAQ starting to break down. We did break down under that 23.7 level. Gold's starting to rebound slightly. Although AMD and NVIDIA have kind of stagnated. They started to almost get over the green, red to green previous closing price, but they've kind of turned around a little bit now. Again, ahead of NVIDIA earnings, we do have NVIDIA earnings on 8/27. We got a few weeks until NVIDIA earnings, 8/27, after market closes for NVIDIA. We'll see what that looks like as well. Market is overbought. Do a poll. 68% of people think the market thinks that CPI inflation data comes in high tomorrow. We'll see what that looks like. Is the current market overbought? Yes or no? Vote on that poll. Let me know in chat. We're starting to rip up. We're at 722. So 72% of people think it is overbought. I don't know, man. I think we're close to all-time highs in the NQ. We're about $110 away from all-time highs in the NASDAQ. Subgraph. All right, we're starting to push up. We're at 726s here. 726s. Chewy. I don't know, my issue with Chewy. Yeah, my issue with Chewy is Amazon. And the risk for Chewy is Amazon. While the Chewy's big and that's good, the risk is Amazon. And so that's my only thing about Chewy. We do have a dip though, and it does kind of fit within my parameters where it's dipping down a pretty large percentage. Weekly chart. It's tough though. Again, the risk is, it might go up. I don't hate it, to be honest. But the risk is Amazon. What do I mean by that? The risk is Amazon. I mean, like, Amazon, powerful company. People use it, become dependent on it. They start buying everything on it. I know this because this is what I do. And I'd rather, if it's easier to buy on Amazon, people are going to buy it on Amazon. They're not going to stay loyal to a company if it's easier to do something else. And so, that's my only thing. Dixie would probably go up if CPI inflation data comes in high. Or actually, it might be the opposite. If inflation is high, it could go either way, I think. But yeah, if inflation leads to a tighter monetary policy, Dixie's usually going to go up. Like a dovish Fed can cause the Dixie to fall. A hawkish Fed can cause the Dixie to go up. So I guess my first answer was right, but it's somewhere in the middle. Imagine if the bottom 90% of stock, the S&P go to 0. Yeah, not good. All right, NASDAQ starting to rise. Gold starting to come back up too. Still watching NVIDIA and the other ones here though. NVIDIA rebounding back up, so is AMD. Yeah, I've never used Chewy, so I can't really say how good it is. I got 2 dogs. I got 2 German Shepherds. That's Rosie right there. I don't have a Bruce emoji. Maybe I should make one. All right, we're back up to that 200 exponential moving average here. See if we hold. I don't really have one for Bruce. I'd have to find one. All right, guys, we got 10 minutes until the market opens. Let's stretch this out a little bit, make this a little bit larger, shrink the stocks. Expand the day trading. All right, so let's watch this level too, the 722 level. I got it on my chart. I don't know where I drew it at. I drew it somewhere this morning though, this level. I don't want to buy it. Problem is it's too close to the opening bell. CPI numbers drop tomorrow, Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern time. How far I keep my stop depends on the trade. It depends on what my reward target is. I try to keep a 1-to-1 ratio. Also, I'll look at like big levels, but it depends on the trade. It varies trade to trade, how big my stop loss is. It's not like I have one specific time, one specific price or average amount for stops. It's usually very short though, 5, 10, 15 ticks. I don't know, man. Time travel, I can't. If we achieve time travel, we're in a simulation. Okay. This is what I was saying. Like, look, and I've always kind of made fun of horoscopes and all that stuff. If horoscopes are real, we're in a simulation. Because the only way horoscopes would make sense is if we were in a simulation. You know? Like, if that was the order of, like, how they built things. That's a situation where horoscopes make sense. Outside of that, your personality being based on the month you were born makes absolutely no sense. The only context that it makes sense in is if we're in a simulation, and that's how they build. And that would mean you're a simulation as well. Same thing for time travel. If time travel is possible, we're in a simulation. It's the only thing that makes sense. So. All right, I'm glad I didn't buy this 722 dip. Yeah, we got the market open in 8 minutes. Yeah, there's 3 things that make sense if we're in a simulation: the law of attraction, time travel, and horoscopes. Outside of those that context, none of those things make any freaking sense, you know. And the bad news is, if they are true, that means you're a simulation as well, most likely, you know. I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying I believe any of that, but that's the only context that makes sense. All right, guys, NASDAQ is so choppy and sideways. Maybe the only thing you can maybe do is short the top of this range or buy the bottom. I don't know what it's gonna do here. All right, we retraced back up here, but again, I don't think there's really much edge day trading this. Horoscopes. I have a feeling he's an NPC the way he's talking. I mean, all right, we're starting to rebound back up. We might be in a video game for all I know. Or maybe they are using us for research purposes. Music done? Okay. Yeah, and with that said, I think basing your whole personality off the month you're born is ridiculous. You see people that base their whole personality, and again, it's kind of like, it's kind of, you know, this person loves their family and they're really loyal to the people they care about. Bro, everybody wants to believe that about themselves. You know, if I read a horoscope and it was like, you know, this person is the best looking out of all the horoscopes, they're the kindest, they're the most generous, I'm gonna be like, yep, that's me. You know, doesn't mean it's true. Confirmation bias. He's the kindest of souls, you know. Yeah, that's me. That's just like me, guys. You know. People want to believe it's true, so they think it's true. United Health still pushing up. I bought that last week. John the Kind. We got 5 minutes left, chat. 5 minutes. We didn't really have any economic data. We had news this morning. Again, 15% royalty tax to the U.S. government on all AMD and NVIDIA sales in China in order for them to get export licenses. This news came out this morning. Microchip stocks were down big. MU raised their guidance, so up their guidance. And so MU raised their guidance, up their guidance some. Jackal, I'm not going to tell you which one I am, but I'll tell you you're wrong. I'm not that one. I'm not going to tell you which one I am, though. All right, guys. CoreWeave still push it up a little bit. Again, United Health push it up. We got 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Cleaning up Washington, D.C. is what he's talking about, Emory. Maybe Cal. Maybe, you know. Is Palantir up? All right, we're up to 723s now. Still can't get over that 200 exponential. Every time the Nasdaq's tried, gotten rejected. All throughout here, it's the same thing. So very sideways. A lot of the time ahead of big economic reports that the market's kind of weighted to, we get choppy sideways action. And so again, tomorrow's CPI inflation report might be one of those reports. No, it's just recovering a little bit from the fall. Yeah, maybe it's one of those, Nick. But I'm also pretty well known to lie to you guys about super personal things like where I go on vacation and stuff like that, just to, you know, just so you guys have a hard time figuring it out. Because there's some stuff like when I'm born, my birth date. I'm not going to give you my social either. All right, Nasdaq's breaking down ahead of the open. Let's see. So the Indian government told parliamentary panel that they are hopeful that bilateral trade talks with the U.S. will continue, not seeing bilateral relations from the prism of trade only. Nasdaq's flushing down here. This might be the market on open. They're hopeful that bilateral trade talks will continue. But this came out like a couple minutes ago, so I don't think this is moving markets. Could just be the market on open dropping. All right, guys, we got about a minute left. And the 200 exponential rejected again, kind of. Is this Amazon? This is Amazon. Some bad news for Amazon must have came out. Look at Amazon dip. So Amazon Why is Amazon down? Hold on, let's see. I don't see any Amazon news either. I mean, this was Amazon driving, and Amazon's down big. But I don't see any Amazon news, which is strange. Insiders might have something. Alright, there's the opening bell, guys. Let's see if we get anything good. Alright, NASDAQ just popped all the way back up. So did Amazon. This retracement. I kind of want to buy it right here. I got to wait at least 5 minutes and let this pass. Do the NASDAQ rip. I should have bought it maybe. AMD all the way back up. I don't know where this Amazon move came from. I really don't. I don't see any news. NASDAQ's being a little volatile though. Apple breaking down, Nvidia pushing up. Again, I'm waiting here. We're only 1 minute into the open. United Health pushing up. We're at 255s. We're so choppy and rangy though. We are retracing fast after big moves on either side. Nvidia went right up to the previous closing price and then turned all the way back down here. So did AMD. Maybe a late delayed reaction to this morning's news about the 15% tax on China sales. Hey, later, Sam. Have a good day, bro. All right, we're about 3 minutes into the day. All right, so we're still flushing down here. Look at Nvidia dump here. This is Nvidia falling down. Palantir's giving a lot back here as well. Apple flushing too. All right, we're only 4 minutes into the day though. I gotta wait. I'm gonna short this a little bit here, but just a little bit. Maybe add a little bit to it too, but cut it fast. It is the day before CPI, so just be careful, guys. There we go. There, we took half off. A little bit more off down there. I might add some more on a bounce back here. 15 is what I want. There we go. It's a challenge account here, so I'm going to add one more, and then I'm going to leave it and see if we fall back down fast. There we go. Problem is, it looks like we're going to chop. I'm going to cut it. It's a challenge account, so I'm going to switch to my actual funded account now. Now that we're, what, 5 minutes in? Fine. It looks weak, but I don't know what this is gonna do. It's too whippy here, I think. AMD started to creep back up, though. That looks okay. What a big turnaround all of a sudden, man. Gotta start to chop here, though. Look at Amazon flush. So Amazon getting like a delayed reaction here. Really rangy movement here, chat. Just be careful. Like, this is just kind of garbage movement. We're only about 8 minutes into the day, though. Again, check out Top Step if you want to help support the channel. This is what I'm day trading on. There's no PDT in futures. I can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell. It's very similar to day trading stocks. No PDT rule. I can day trade very similar patterns to day trading stocks. No PDT rule, and they pay out millions, fund thousands. Just a great way to learn how to day trade when most day traders lose money. It just makes sense, I think, to limit your risk. Almost all day traders lose. I lost like 5K in the beginning, 4K, something like that. And I wish I had something like this because I would just lose less. I'd still probably lose in the beginning, but it's going to be a lot less than I would have lost putting up the money myself. I think it just makes sense. So again, if you want to check it out, I'll put the link up. $50 a base, $50 a month for the base one. No PDT rule. Get you around the PDT rule. If you pass it, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split. If you fail it, you lose $50. It's the best of both worlds. There's the link right there. They're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased, of course. I get paid by them, so I'm biased, but genuinely useful. Understand all this stuff on screen. Can't guarantee anything. Not an investment professional. Not liable if you lose. See what happens. Understand all this stuff. All right, so we're going to maybe take some trades in our funded account here. I'm just kind of waiting for a good setup. We're starting to get some momentum here. PayPal's pushing up too. Hey, we're green on PayPal. That's nice. Okay. Top step is futures. The futures market has no PDT rule and you get started for 50 bucks. Now we're back up to that 200 exponential. That's been a big bearish level all morning for this thing for some reason. Ten minutes into the day. All right, there's the 200 EMA. Here's that 200 exponential level here. I mean, this looks strong though. This green movement looks strong. You tap that level. Yeah, we got CPI inflation data tomorrow, man. That's the biggest day. I think the best way to approach today would be to attack the ranges. So we're starting to flush down a little bit now. Now we're spiking up. Yeah, I think this is a hard market to make money in. Nvidia's starting to fight back, though. So is AMD. AMD just broke highs. It looks like we want to get over this 200 EMA, though. We'll see if we do. Fighting it now. Yep. Back over it. See if this pullback holds, though. I was going to buy this dip. We'll try buying one of this, maybe two. See if we can catch a pop. There we go. See if we can add to this if it continues higher. We're close enough to all-time highs where I think we might have some bullish sway from it, but it's certainly back and forth this morning. Try buying this here. We add one more. There we go. Some profit in that. Take some profit in that. All right, we got out of there. So we got this dip. I'm kind of wanting to buy this back at that level here, though. Try buying a couple. Let's pull back. We didn't really quite get into 2. Let's try 3 right here. There we go. It's kind of at the top of the range, so it's probably a risky trade for CPI day, but we'll try. All right, we took a piece off there. Another piece off there. We got one more left. We can bounce at this 200 exponential. We'll try to hold the rest break even. All right, we're out. The president's supposed to speak at 10 a.m. in 15 minutes, but he's supposed to speak nothing regarding the economy and more so regarding like Washington, D.C. cleanup or something like that is what it is. So we're out. Oh, let's see if we can rebound at 722. I'll short it if it bounces back up there. All right, so we're short right here. We'll give it a second, but I wanted to see if it rejected, but if it pushes up too much, we'll just cut it, and that's okay. Yeah, I'm just going to cut it right here, just too much. We're still green on the day. And maybe I should have held that, but... All right, so we're back up. Injected a little bit at 728. Amazon's still flushing down here. I still can't figure out the news for Amazon. Not seeing anything. I don't know why Amazon's getting sold off. Maybe insider selling. I don't know what I want to do with this. Again, I'm green on the day. Amazon's flushing down pretty significantly after the open. AMD's ripping up. Nvidia's kind of flat since the opening bell. Hasn't really done much. But the price action's back and forth because we got some stocks breaking down in like the Mag 7 and the NASDAQ. And then we have some stocks ripping up like AMD. Hard to tell what to do here. Rox is green on the day. That's good. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, the president's doing a press conference after the stream. I'm not streaming this. I don't think it's going to move markets. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with markets, to be honest. And the NASDAQ has gone mostly sideways. Maybe it does. I don't know. But generally it doesn't move markets like that. We're starting to climb back up here. I mean, look, highs of the day are way up here, 760s. All-time highs are at 850s for the Nasdaq and the S&P, so we still got a little ways, but we're getting up there. Yeah, Tesla expanding in India. I saw that news. Tesla's ripping up. It's at 340s right now, which is good. PayPal breaking down a little bit now. Yeah, Intel's up over 5% on news that their CEO is going to be meeting with the press today. Nasdaq's struggling to get up here, though. I was going to short this just because it's sideways, and now that it's confirming more of a sideways trend, we might have more of a edge sideways. We'll short it, I guess, but kind of risky short it up here. I'm going to add 4 contracts tops, and that's it. See if we flush down. It's the day before CPI. It's the day before tariffs deadline ends for China, which is an important day. Flat. Let's see if we go green. There we go. We're slightly green. Let's see if we can break down some more. There we go. Yes, sir. Go ahead and cut that right there. I mean, I think I'm scalping because that's all I can do right now. The range, like this range is very small. Like that range over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes is very small. Yeah, I might cut out of here early, guys. I just don't see anything that looks good. I just don't see anything that looks good. Market's too slow. We got the press conference at 10, so we'll see how that goes. Listen, y'all be safe. All right. Again, check out Top Step if you want to help support the channel. No PDT in futures. Beautiful way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose money. Do not fund your own account tens of thousands of dollars trying to look cool. Instead, try Top Step. Great way to learn. Learn in a structured environment. If you pass it, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split. Your first 10K in profit. Once you're funded, you get to keep your profits moving forward, your first 10K. After that, you get 90% split, similar to funding your own account, but the risk is $50 a month. So it's the best of both worlds. It limits your risk when you're learning, which is when most day traders lose money. And so again, link is pinned to the top of the chat. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Listen, tomorrow we got CPI inflation data. Today's a little boring because we don't have any big catalysts today, but tomorrow we got CPI inflation data. Wednesday, wait, what do we have Wednesday? Wednesday, we got a bunch of Fed speakers. Thursday, we got jobless claims, PPI. Friday, we got retail sales. So a lot of stuff going on this week. Y'all be safe in this market. Look at the NASDAQ start to flush down here a little bit. I don't really see any news to cause it, but hey, I'll get out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Give me a follow on X. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good.